So I am going to try to stay on as long as I can today, but I'm pulling the two places at once thing. And if work needs to pull me, I have to do the thing.
That makes perfect sense. Um, I do not have an agenda for this meeting. Yeah,
I feel that, yeah, trust me. Yeah, that is the feeling of the day.
yeah. I
Um,
mean, I don't have an agenda for this meeting. I don't know if Marquita is coming and has an agenda for this meeting. My hope is like every day this week that enough of us will show up that we can vote on something. Um, Yay, Marquita's here. Hi, Marquita.
Hi, everybody. Sorry
I
I'm
was,
late.
I was
Hello.
just saying, I don't have an agenda for this meeting, and I hope you're showing up and have one. And if you don't, then we're just kind of hanging out waiting for us to
Oh,
have enough people to be able to vote on something.
right. So I so need Israel in my life because I did not do an agenda.
You're okay.
like I can come up with something on the spot, y'all. I could.
Well, I wanted to, since we have everyone here, hopefully we get enough for quorum to vote. But while we wait for that, I would love to be able to get the answers to these questions for everyone.
Your apocalypse.
Yep. I have yours, JD. I have
Overachiever.
that.
I know
Then
it.
you should have mine.
Okay, perfect. Yeah. So anyone who hasn't did it yet, because tomorrow's the deadline. Sorry, I'm like getting it together. I'm doing like 1,000 things at once. But tomorrow's the deadline, and if we don't have it, I'll just talk to Tanya. It is what it is at this point. We only can do quorum is 7. That's what Drake just said in the chat. See how many people we
I
have.
We're
do,
at 5.
sorry to interrupt y'all. I just wanted to say, I did, and I'm sorry that we all need Isra, back. She is so greatly missed. But I tried to send out, I have a blank agenda, which I can pull up. I also have the minutes with notes from last meeting. So if that's helpful, then maybe I can share that so folks can review previous minutes. And yeah, I apologies again and thanks for the patience.
No problem.
So sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt, but I just wanted to say that I do have those things available, and I'll just let you all resume and let me know when you'd like me to pull, or if you'd like, me to pull those things up.
Oh yeah, if you could pull it up, that'd be perfect, Kendall. Thank you. Because I am all over the place today. Well, this week has been a lot. And I was leaving a white elephant party with
The
my
White
team.
Elephant Party sounds like fun.
It was, I stole someone's gift. It's a great gift. It's like full of different popcorns
Oh,
and popcorn
nice.
biscuits and candy and a movie list for 2024. I did great.
Awesome.
Is Luke here?
Can everybody see this one okay? Do I need to make this bigger at all?
Molly, do you mind reading it for Luke?
Sure, I can do that.
Thank
All
you.
right. So in attendance was Luke, Marquita, Drake, JD, Barb, Terry Voss, Walter, and Kendall. The first section is introductions and check-ins from 12:10 to 12:15. The meeting began late as a result of technical challenges. The next section is reviewing previous meeting minutes. there was a typo noted in the spelling of MHAAO. The change request was made by JD to include their name as related to the work they've completed for the council. Then there was public comment. Then we had clarify the meeting plan with Adrian. It says, Walter, note, reasonable accommodations were discussed. Council members will elevate concerns with funding for Peerpocalypse continuing to be outsourced in the future. Council members would like to discuss securing ongoing funding directly from OHA for Ocac members to attend Peerpocalypse. Marquita Corley, co-chair of the Peer Support Committee, led the meeting. Key topics included preparations for Peerpocalypse 2025 event, discussions about training opportunities and conference in the peer support field, and logistical issues such as accessing the council's email and Google Drive. The meeting also touched on the possibility of inviting Adrian from MHAAO to a future meeting. There were discussions around ensuring fair opportunities for council members to attend conferences, especially considering that some of the members will be leaving OCAC before Peerpocalypse 2025. The meeting concluded with a brief discussion about a transgender training that most of the members were unable to attend. Action items from 12:30 to 12:45. Marquita Corley mentioned coordinating with Peerpocalypse 2025 event coordinator to secure a table for the council and conduct an on-site council meeting during the event. JD mentioned submitting workshop proposals for Peerpocalypse 2025, including a class on reframing intrusive thoughts. Marquita Corley mentioned exploring the creation of a newsletter or designated coordinator role to stay informed about relevant trainings, conferences, and symposiums in the peer support field. Marquita Corley mentioned having one-on-one meeting with Adrian from MHAO to discuss MHAO programs and contracts that could benefit the council. Marquita Corley mentioned bringing up the topic of the transgender training in the next PSC committee meeting for a proper debrief. Marquita mentioned checking the status of meetings with the THW committee and providing an update. The transponder training debriefing was tabled until the next meeting, and the PSC will create space to reflect and discuss. And then I think the last bit, which I can't quite see, is public comment. Yep.
Thank you.
Like to make a motion to approve the minutes as written.
I second that
second.
motion.
Okay.
I
I approve.
abstained because I wasn't here.
Do folks want me to pull up the blank agenda now? Or like, are Amal, you're muted.
Did the meeting minutes pass?
I think
Yes.
so.
Okay.
But let's double check that. I don't want to make a call on that, but I believe we had JD, yes. We had a Marquita, yes. And
Luke or Drake?
Luke or Drake, I didn't see anything from, so.
Luke, did you vote to pass the meeting minutes?
Oh, I said I approve.
Thank you. And
At
Drake?
the same time you were speaking, I think that was it.
And Drake. Okay.
We have a yes from
meeting-
Drake.
Yeah, so meeting minutes pass.
Okay.
Marquita, do you want the blank agenda pulled up?
I guess we could. I mean, that would be good so we can get attendance on it. And let's have a conversation. Let's chit chat until we get quorum. I think everyone here, Luke, around Pierce Apocalypse, you will be attending virtually, I'm guessing. Or is that possible? Or what
I
is that
don't
look?
I don't know. It might be a waste of money again for trying to get me there. Last year I couldn't attend anything because it was all on a smartphone app. But I was there for the Zoom meeting when we had our OCAC summit. And that was it.
Okay. And how are you feeling this year? Do you want to try to see? Do you want us to try to advocate for you? What do you need from us around this?
No, I don't think we should waste the money again.
Okay.
Luke, can I ask a clarifying question real quick?
Go ahead, please.
The Hoover app that the conference was using is available to be used on laptops. Um, is that something you're aware of?
Oh, okay, yeah. When I was down in the computer room, I was accessing it, but I'm just so rarely down there. Wasn't it wasn't feasible.
Okay, I just
And
didn't know if
I
you
can
knew it
only
was.
chat. Yeah, I can only hear and chat when I'm on the computer downstairs. Hmm.
So I have a question that I've been trying to get some insight on. Um, the transponder training. I know for sure, JD, that you were there. How do you feel about sharing from your experience and takeaways?
Before I do, Drake has their hand up.
Thank you. Yes, Drake.
I was too sick to travel, or even actually that Friday, even to log in. But I also wanted to add my voice to those trying to provide some support to those that felt like we abandoned them at the training. I mean, that's really bad. Or the reaction of people was pretty hard to hear, and I hope that I know at least I apologize for not being there and wish that more people had showed up. Spent a lot of money.
Got you.
In hindsight, if it would have been virtual, it would have been easier for a lot of people. But people wanted it to be in person for the intimacy and real human connection and stuff. So that's learning, I guess.
And that does give us good information looking forward to like an IPS or ECPR that it may be more accessible because we are across the state to do an online version. Even though generally speaking, when you're doing things that include role play and practicing out skills, I do better in person, but it's not all about me. It's about meeting as many people from the council as we can with their individual needs. I think knowledge going forward that even though people prefer in person, that just wasn't as feasible for everybody between life and work and what have you. So yeah, I feel like there was an opportunity for people to take home information, even if they weren't able to come, and to really learn different things with our diversity, equity, inclusion, and belonging lens. That includes what do you do when somebody points out you make a mistake? And that's one of the things that I brought up yesterday uh, with our trauma informed um, committee is we want to create uh, a set path for us to be able to communicate our OPSs so that we can work towards more inclusive language and actions that meet each other where we're at with a little bit of grace and forgiveness. And I'll pass.
Drake, I see your hand still up. Or did you raise it again?
That's an artifact. I apologize. I forgot.
Oh, it's okay. Luke, your hand is still up. Did you have something you wanted to share?
Yeah, I just wanted to mention that I don't know what can be done to soothe over the wound, but yeah, when I recall people that were there were really hurt and kind of outraged that the council wasn't interested in the training at all. And I think that there's an element of, you know, difficulty for people around the state to be able to get there. And I don't know how that gap can be bridged, but somehow maybe people that weren't there can say, it's not that I didn't want to be part of the training, it's that it was hard for me to travel or something like that. Eventually, I hope that there's some healing that can happen. And I'm glad, JD, that you were able to acknowledge that. Okay, well, maybe that was an aspect that was important to consider too. And my heart goes out to our council and the healing that could happen somehow. You know, it was maybe a miracle, holiday season miracle. Thanks for listening.
Thank you for that, Luke. Molly, I see your hand.
Yeah, hi. So so I was able to attend the Friday evening portion, but was not able to attend the Saturday piece because I had a family conflict. And for me, that is, um, you know, my life is very full, and I often have family things on the weekends, so for me, it would have been easier to attend if it had been during the business week. Which I know is not true for everyone, but that is my truth, is that I am also a caregiver at home and have a family that I'm taking care of, and they are used to me being gone during the business week. So that is an easier thing for me to manage. I don't know whether that is true for others. I do, you know, I wish that training had gone differently. And I would love to explore whether there is information that was learned in the training that could be distributed to the council members. Um, you know, if there were additional handouts or other things that we could use to at least provide people with something to look at, to think about the topics of how we communicate.
I'd be
And
willing to reach out to Transponder to see if we can get a copy of the slide deck.
I think that would be lovely. If they are willing to share it, I think it would be great to be able to provide that to council members who were not there, and have us have, you know, we could at least share that information and maybe have a discussion. I also think that as a council, we need to work on both the language that we use and the level of inclusivity, and how we communicate our ouches, and ensure that we are able to communicate in ways that are non-hurtful, and also be able to communicate so that we can move forward with council work. And I think right now there are people who are activated by conversations about language. So maybe maybe sharing the slides is a great way to get everybody on the same page, to have that conversation fully. I think we're not done with our DEIB work yet. And, you know, so I feel like we're in a growth process. And my experience with growth processes is that, much like when humans grow, we have moments of that growth where we're really awkward and have zits and maybe have grown into strange sizes that we're not used to yet, and we're not very good at working with our new taller bodies or whatever. You know, we're kind of in an adolescence period with our council as we learn how to communicate differently, and maybe we're a little bit awkward right now. So I also echo JD's, let's try and do this with as much grace and forgiveness as we can, because we're all growing into new things, and people are awkward when they grow.
I appreciate you all. Honestly, I didn't know that this was all taking place behind the scenes. I knew that there was a training. I knew a lot of people last minute couldn't make it. I didn't know that there were hurt feelings behind the lack of attendees. And I wanted to know how it went. And I've been trying to have that conversation in this committee for, I want to say, the past few months. And no one that attended was there to speak on it. So I'm really happy that I am hearing this, because I feel like sometimes it's just uncomfortable to just say it, like my feelings is hurt. But as I was listening, I can understand and step outside myself and see how someone could have been offended, because it took a lot of manpower, time, to actually get that training going. Um, I don't think that it was, well, from my end, I'll speak for myself, something I'm practicing. I know that it wasn't because I didn't want to be there. It was a tough choice that I had to make last call. Anyone that knows me is that my spiritual journey is very important and is attached to my wellness. And there was something I couldn't make it work. It was two events at the same time, and the distance of traveling, the time of travel. It was just, I couldn't make it work, um, and still be safe, with driving that late at night and doing all that. So I apologize on my end, but yeah, I do think that you're right, Molly. OCAC is going through growth spurt, transition. You can put a lot of different names on it. When you get to that certain age, and then like, well, for me, I'm gonna call it baby fat. I was always fluffy. When I hit like 14, a little of my baby fat fell off. Then I hit 16, some more fell off. So I feel like it's like that transitioning process, and it's uncomfortable sometimes. And like, we're losing a lot of people too. And so that part, and then just not even the fact of we're losing people, there's individuals that are here now still participating that are going through a transition to where they're not going to be members anymore. So that aspect as well. I think it all plays a part in all of this. The DEIB committee subcommittee being added to OCAC. Um, but from being a new person here on the council and sitting back and listening and taking everything in for a while, a lot of things are happening that was wanted. Sounds like, and it's happening kind of fast, and it's uncomfortable. And so I just hope that we can create some more spaces like this. I most definitely will be mindful and make an effort to have that for peer support committee. So we can have talks like this, and be able to just check in and see kind of where we're all at, and share maybe our thoughts or our feelings that we haven't been able to find the space to have that, because we're, it's in these meetings, we got 1 hour, let's get to the business. But I want to create spaces for us to be able to share those ouch moments, and put it on the table to give other people the chance to respond and share, so there can be more understanding. I think with more understanding, it lessens the blow. So that's just my take. And I'm sorry for, I don't know exactly who felt like this, but whoever felt like this, I do send my apologies and compassion. Yes, JD.
Um, at the end of the transponder training, the few of us that were there, I started the conversations about how it hurt that there were less people in attendance. I had known, because I had talked electronically with Molly, that there was a family thing going on. I had forgotten at one point, but um, uh, there was people who were really good about communicating what was going on, that they couldn't be there, and then there was nothing. and that the nothingness hurt more. The not showing up hurt more. The people who were in attendance and left halfway in person didn't feel good either. And the reason that we wanted to have this training to begin with was because groups of people, not just me, but groups of people within the council have been being treated different because of their gender, their ethnicity, their family of origin history, and we needed to have an opportunity for people to grow so that we wouldn't we're less likely to hurt each other, or we at least had a framework to communicate when something hurt. And so I very much shared at the uh, end of the training that I was hurting because there were people I really wanted to see there so that our professional relationship in this council could go from, oh man, I hope they don't show up because it hurts when they say and do things. I wanted it to move to I can work with this person because they're willing to work with me. There's several times that I have leaned on the staff of the ORR because of how hard it is to be in situations where I'm disrespected over and over and over again and told, "Oh, I'm old," or you know what I mean, or a thousand other dismissive things. Um, and so yeah, I was the loudest voice saying that they were hurt. And like I said, I really appreciate the communication from people who ahead of time knew that they weren't going to be able to make it. They um asked for information to follow up. Like asking for the information to follow up when you can't be there shows me that there was intention to want to learn the material. And so I'm somebody who's very much forward thinking, and I'm looking forward to the different trainings that we're asking for, the emotional CPR and all that. And I really think that we should have a solid commitment. If you say you're going to be going to the ECPR class and then you don't show up, you have wasted the council's money because we have to reserve your spot. And I don't know how to hold each other accountable. Um, but I would like to put forth that there needs to be some level of buy-in or accountability. Go ahead, Molly.
I just want to say that I think that that's true across the council as a whole. That is the reason why we are unable to vote, right? Is because we are not showing up to our commitment. And so clearly we need to have a conversation about how we show up to our commitment and set some more clear expectations as a council about what it means to be on the council, what it means to show up to the things that we are scheduled to show up for, all of that. The other thing that I will say is I have witnessed the behaviors which you speak of, JD, in regards to how people are, how people's identification is not honored, or how people's sense of self is not honored. And I wonder if maybe we need to do a level setting during a council meeting. So maybe we need to not do a extended training, but do a 1 hour presentation on how we talk to each other, and sort of, have somebody come in or facilitate that conversation in a very abbreviated format, but that everybody gets the same piece of information about how we refer to each other and how we support each other and how we talk to each other. So that might be something to consider. I see your heart, JD, and Marquita. I will give it back to you.
Okay, so well, I think we're on the same page, Molly, because it does break my heart to hear that this was the experience of those there. And I do hear JD, like we need to, you know, hold people accountable. And when I hear that, I have to be honest with the room that the same situation could happen again, and I will always choose God. This council is very important to me. It does trump a lot of things. I do put it and very mindful of it as I move about and make choices for my life. But honestly, if the same situation rose up again, I would choose to go to church. And that might be offensive to some, but that is my truth. Now, if it was anything else, I'm there. Period. As for me, that is God trumps a lot of things in my life. And I won't be waived from that. However, I can, take steps to be more careful to make sure that I'm not agreeing to a date and not checking in to see what my church calendar looks like. So that I will take accountability on that, that I allowed life to get so busy that I missed, overlooked that we had a conference.
Me too.
I don't think I actually overlooked it. The dates just came out of nowhere, and it was like 2024 was a lot for my church. We had a lot going on, but anywho, I was thinking the council's going through a lot of shifts and changes. We're losing a lot of people. We're going to be getting some new people. I was thinking, what if we did? I'm not going to say a redo because it was expensive, and I know we have a lot of plans for our ARPA funds. But having something around the topic, around the foundation of that training, and maybe doing something like that with our new members. So moving forward, we can kind of try to get on the same page and be on the same page and be mindful of one another.
JD,
If we want to carve out 20 minutes at the next full council, I can put together a brief PowerPoint on a recap of different things, and if I get the slides from Transponder, include some of those slides as well. Um, I'm willing to put together a 20-minute something. And then I also wanted to put forth a motion that any new members who want to have mentorship, that they be pre-approved for 3 mentorship meetings on non-council days so that they can bill for offline. Um, for any of us who want mentorship, even if you're an old hat and you need mentorship, and you can ask questions along the lines of, what do I need to know that I missed from the transponder meeting? So the short of it is, I'd like for us as a committee to bring to full council authorization for each member to have 3 without needing further authorization mentorship meetings.
with other council members, and so the request is that that is stipendable, right? Okay, that's what I heard. Um, so I will second that motion. And it's accepted across the board.
I
Luke,
I heard something about like a mandatory element to there, and I wanted to clarify, is there going to be like an optional, or is that like kind of a hard
The
line, or what?
the mandatory
So,
part was, if you need more than 3 mentor sessions, then you have to get that
okay.
approved for stipendship.
Oh, okay, okay. So the 3 is an optional thing, and you can have it compensated for with the stipend, and if people want that, then great. Okay, yeah, I
Correct.
approve of that.
So Marquita
Hmm.
could reach out to me as a mentor and say, hey, I'd like to utilize one of my mentorships. Can we talk
Hmm.
on Saturday via Zoom about what I missed at the retreat? And I could see, like, yeah, Saturday's good for me. Let's do.
Yeah, cool. Did the motion pass?
We just need your vote, Luke.
Oh, I already said I approve. Yep.
Oh, yep.
After
All
the
of those.
clarifying question. Okay, great. Yeah. I have something else to offer on this topic too, which reminded me. Thanks, JD,
I
for the
see your
motion.
hand, Jake.
Yeah, I had something that I would like to offer that I think would make things go better. And it's something that includes some of my past experiences with transponder as well. In other organizations when they've either done presentations or been members, is that there's a particular delineation that ends up being made in a lot of these situations. That when JD says someone made a mistake,
Drake, I'm sorry. I have a request. Can you use more common language? Because I don't know what that word means.
what's that? What word was it?
With some word
Delineation.
Oh,
I don't know what that
there's a
means.
line drawn. How's that?
Yeah, if you can kind of bring that to a more place where we can understand what you're saying, that would be great and
All right.
inclusive.
The what happens is that when people do make mistakes, and if that's included as not showing up, which is a little more than a mistake, I would actually offer that, and this more than just simply making an error. One of the people are absolutely and validly entitled to their sentiments about things and how they feel about them, and there is also real world harm that needs to be acknowledged. But when Rhea, for instance, is upset about what happened at the meeting, people are kind of horrified, or one thing. But the other thing that came out of it is one of the statements that was made is that if you didn't show up there, you're not an ally. And I'm not, that's kind of taking an inch and turning it into a mile, where people that are generally, not even generally, but particularly supportive are lumped in with anybody that's not making mistakes or actively making judgments and doing things that are injurious and are intended to be injurious. When they get lumped together, that really sets people on a kind of a edge where they're worried about, oh my God, if I don't do this or don't do that, we're gonna, I'm gonna be uh, held up to
Thanks.
ridicule and
Yeah.
things. I just wish somebody would figure out a way to be able, JD mentioned in the process, if there was some safe way for people to communicate when they're not being treated well or appropriately, or the language isn't appropriate, is that's done in such a way that it doesn't create that immediate line being drawn, that there's a judgmental quality to it that I think it makes people scared. To be honest, if they don't know what they're doing, if they're in territory that they already don't know about, and with issues that they're vastly unfamiliar with, and cultures that they're vastly unfamiliar with, if suddenly you stick them in there and say, by the way, you can't say this, or this, or else you're gone. That's a pretty severe way to approach it. And I just wish there'd be some more loving and kind way to interact when stuff like that happens, so that people become aware and that they're considerate of other people's feelings and identities, but also feel like they're included as part of the answer rather than as part of the problem. So, and when people say the council does this or that to everybody, I'm kind of peripherally aware of all the issues and accusations that have been made, but it never comes with any detail, and it never comes with any remedies that can be, directly dealt with. And I would really appreciate it if that is something that people work towards, is like being able to speak, not even bluntly, but just frankly enough to each other, like say, hey, Marquita made a really good speech yesterday about how she tolerates, people saying stuff that she isn't down with. And just as I tell them, set a boundary and say, this is not okay. Hearing that in some form in the moment is a lot better than having basically the whole organization pulled down by the essential assumption or innuendo that all this stuff is going on when that isn't, in a lot of cases, isn't people's either in their intent or they're not aware of. Does that make any sense to people? I really am trying to basically
For
frame this in a way that they'll actually, people will not end up at these loggerheads where people end up feeling bad on both sides. Like I just did something horribly wrong on one side and then not on the other side feeling that person hates me. And
I
because
think that
neither should be
it's a
true.
little confusing, Drake, for me. One, bringing up Raya's name and she's not here, I don't think that's fair. Two, I do understand the aspect of, sometimes it's better to say it in the moment, right? When someone is doing it, and I'm a firm believer in it, but I've also learned to look at the other side of things. And it's just sometimes it's not, everyone doesn't communicate like that. Everyone isn't comfortable with one. Some people consider it to be confrontational. And then I've learned that some people just would rather not. They would rather not say something because they look at it as me putting you on blast in front of everyone. So when you have a situation where you're dealing with multiple people with different personalities, different backgrounds, it's just not that simple. It, for me, being a person that communicates like that, that would be great. But that doesn't mean it's great for everybody. And then because when share, you shared a lot. So it's like I can't just say it's some was understandable, some wasn't. And then also the level of like calling people out and then people getting upset like they did something wrong. They're getting upset. Well, you did do something wrong, calling it out. Thank you. Moving on. It's really simple. It's like no need to harbor on. I think some people just aren't used to being called out. And that's uncomfortable. It's uncomfortable. So I don't know. I feel like you said a lot. The main point of it, like I never knew that it was ever stated like if you do this, this, or this, we kicking you off. I've never even been a part of that conversation.
Can
So I
I
don't
make
know where that came from either.
a quick informational statement? Is that I was in a DIB meeting
Uh-huh.
and I won't mention the person's name, but they're
Okay.
public, not a council person, but I had an issue with how people were in the rules they were making, how people were being told to act rather than affirming how people wanted to act in the way that through the meeting agreements were constructed, which was a thoughtful way of how it was put. The response to that by somebody that didn't like what I said was I had mispronounced JD and I shouldn't even be here and they should kick me out of the meeting. That
Oh,
was that was said on the record in the DEIB meeting, and after that, I have not said a word in that meeting for fear of antagonizing somebody else. So and it's
and
not,
that was a member of the public.
yeah.
Okay. And you're saying that they said that and it made you feel
Somehow that information got to them for one thing. So that's out there circulating about me, which I
no, it's not circulated. It happens multiple times in these meetings. I'm not going to allow you to try to downplay it. Not only you have done it, I've done it. But it's all about saying apologies, move on. JD has shared with us on multiple occasions of like, if this does happen, just do this and we're good, And so you're not alone in miss pronouns, using the wrong pronouns when it comes to JD. You're not alone. I think that, and I don't think that people are whispering about you off of the meetings. They're in the meetings and hearing it happen. And so I'm sorry that you feel like that person came at you, disrespectfully to a point where it made you feel like you don't want to speak in the DEIB meeting. And I'm sorry that was your experience. but no one's whispering about you. I think we've all witnessed it, that it's
The, pro-
happened,
the
not just for
problem
me,
with
but
that,
other people.
the problem with that is that person had not attended any of the meetings where anything I had done had happened. That was one of them, and plus did not attend very much at all except for the DEIB meetings.
Okay.
So, and I just, the background information and the assumptions involved. I just want some particulars out of it so it can be dealt with. That's the thing I've asked for all along about the whole equity and inclusion stuff. Is I
I
want
just think it's
people
a
brought
little far
forward.
fetched, Drake, because I mean, that statement you just made that they never were at any of the meetings where you did it, that's you saying that you remember every time that you have misgender JD. Is that what you're saying? You remember
Record.
every time?
There's a record.
Oh, okay. I receive it. I think that sometimes we hurt people and then the response that we get from us hurting someone, it hurts us. Instead of focusing on the fact that we hurt someone, it's kind of easier to focus on the fact that we just got hurt. Does that make sense?
I'm not feeling hurt. I'm trying to make the point that, I'm pretty thick-skinned, and I've already at times had some pretty substantive discussions with transponder about stuff like this.
Mm-hmm.
Way earlier, years before this, when they first started, in fact. But
Mm-hmm.
the point I'm trying to make is that creating an environment like that doesn't get us anywhere. I mean, the idea is to have people be accepted for who they are and exhibit deference and kindness, and
Mm-hmm.
that's, to me, my mind, at least intentionally, and I know the path to hell is paved with good intentions,
Mm-hmm.
has always been to support those values. So not supporting
Okay.
those values is something that needs to be dealt with, but if it's
Mm-hmm.
dealt with in an exclusionary way, it's really replicating part of the problem.
I don't think that I don't remember the member of the public that told you that you should be kicked off the council. For me personally, hearing it, and them saying, I think that's their opinion. They have rights to their opinion. Does it hold any merit? No. I feel like you have been on this council long enough. I think that you probably know a rule or something to do around that. I really don't know how to support with a member of the public sharing their opinion around that. And, I'm addressing that really. But if you want to talk like outside of this around ways to kind of approach that, because that's not one of our rules that if this happens, you're kicked off. We haven't even gotten that far. So I feel like the group agreements, it has everyone in it. If there's something you would like to be on there, I think you should state it. It's a combination of all of us and what we need. What I need may not be what you need. What you need may not be what I need. Doesn't mean that it's wrong or right. It's just that's what happens when you have a collective group with different personalities, different backgrounds. Some people need this, some people need something else, and it's just like, okay, that's what you need. I don't know. I seen Luke's hand. I don't want to not call on him.
He's gone.
Oh, sorry, Luke. But yeah, so sorry, Drake, that happened to you, but I don't think that anyone's trying to kick anyone off. We're trying to learn how to be together.
I think that is really the point, is we're trying to learn how to all be together. And um I'm gonna like back up, like way back, and pull it back from the specific conversation about transponder and the retreat, or about misgendering. I think at a very broad, big level, um, our role is, as a council, is to make recommendations to the OHA and to lift up the voices of lived experience. And what I have witnessed in the last 3 years or 2.5 years on the council is that we spend a lot of time um, fighting amongst ourselves um, about how we do things or how we should do things, and rehashing old hurts and bringing them forward into the present moment. And my hope is that we are able to find a way to work together, um, to communicate with one another in non-hurtful, respectful ways. And so I think there probably needs to be a little bit of like, here are the communication expectations as a member of the council, right? And here is how you deal with an ouch. But I think, you know, part of what I part of why I want to be here is to try and create a space where we with lived experience can come together and raise our voices together to improve the system that we have all been subject to at various points, right? Um, and and I feel like we get sidetracked in all of our personal wounds and battles, um, and all of our history. And I really want to, that is all really important stuff for how we move forward. But it also, if we don't move forward, it blocks our path. Um, so I want to thank you for, I want to thank everybody for being here and having these conversations. I think it's hard. I think, the natural response from a human when we are confronted is to push back, right? That's like from the time that we're on the playground, that's our natural response to being pushed, is to push back. And so we're all working against that natural human response. When something hurts, we need to be able to step back from the response that says push back and be like, how do I want to respond to this? Right. So we're not so reactionary. And I think that was the goal of the transponder training, was to create some tools for us to react, or to respond rather than react. And it didn't work that way. And that's too bad. And what I hope is that we are able to, work together to find a path and a voice and a process that works for us to all bring our lived experience to the table in ways that we can support the state of Oregon and all the consumers who are currently waiting in line to get, who have a teenager who is suicidal and are waiting 6 months to get them into a counselor, like I did, right? Who are going to the hospital on a suicide hold and getting traumatized, who are unable to gain access, who are force medicated with medications that shorten their lives. Like, there are so many critically important things that we need to be spending time on. And the fact that we are just constantly fighting with ourselves is very frustrating to me. So that's my little soapbox for today. But I believe in the work that we can do, and I believe that we can have an effect on the things that are not working in this system. But I believe we have to find ways to elevate all of our voices and stop fighting amongst ourselves.
Well said. Come on, chair of OCAC. Well said. No, I received that, and I feel like, change is hard. But one thing I've learned about change is that if you fight against change, you will find yourself on the other side of change. You won't
That
be a
is
part
right.
of the change. And Ocac is going somewhere, and it's uncomfortable, but I feel like what's happening with Ocac is going to set the tone for years out. For years, I was going to set a certain tone and a certain culture and atmosphere for new members to come that will continue it. And it will be, if we don't get to see it, but I want to see it. That's my goal. I want to see it. I want to see it. I want to experience. I want to feel it. I want to love it. But most importantly, I want to make sure that I do the footwork to where it's something that continues to happen when I'm gone. And that's kind of became my mission. I wasn't sure while I was here. I knew I love advocacy, but seeing just so much pain, so much rejection, so much hurt, so much disappointment. And I'm not even saying amongst us, just there's also another extension, ORR, Oregon Health Authority. All of this together, I just feel like the 2025 is our year for this relationship to be renewed, and for the shift to take place that needs to take place, and for the connection to get back there that's solid, and for OCAC to get back to advising the Oregon Health Authority and setting the tone so new members, when they come, they don't feel like they don't belong, and and they feel lost, and then they get here and they feel like they're being silenced, or just love, advocacy, networking, community, and let's do it. We all got the same hearts. We all want the same thing. There's no reason why it's this much friction. So I'm excited. I'm excited for the new year, the new things. And I really do hope that individuals who will no longer be members still come and be members of the public. You are welcomed. You are needed. Your voice is still needed. And so yeah, so I'm excited, and I don't want to go over time, but I appreciate all you guys for coming. Apologies for my shortcomings today, not having an agenda. Thank you, ORR, for whipping one up for me. So I appreciate that. I appreciate you all. Happy holidays.
See
Yeah,
you all tomorrow. Hopefully
I'll
we'll
be
get to quorum.
I'm gonna have
Okay.
four.
That's what I want. Tomorrow, hopefully we'll get to quorum.
That's what I was gonna ask about. That's why I had my hand up. The next
Yeah.
meeting is tomorrow, in fact.
Yep, there's a meeting tomorrow at noon.
Could somebody please make an effort to contact people like Isaiah and others that don't have us as, have this as part of their normal meeting routine and their, whatever their schedule is for where they're stuck, so that we can make sure and have enough folks there.
Mireya, this is I have it as the media kit subcommittee that has been rescheduled to tomorrow.
Yes. Is that
Can you send out a reminder to everyone that the media kit subcommittee meeting is tomorrow at noon and that we are trying to reach quorum?
sure? I did send out an email this morning with the agenda that Luke sent yesterday.
I'll add something in there, and I'll just schedule it to be sent out at 8 in the morning to everyone.
Awesome. Okay.
I'll do that after this meeting. I appreciate you all.
Yeah. Thank you, everyone. See you
All right.
later.
Bye.
Good night.
Good night.